All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning, my people. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. This is the Sliwa Show here on Hoops Talk, Monday through Friday, starting at 8 a.m., except this morning I'm starting at 7:58. You want to know why I'm starting at 7:58? Well, because I freaking cut everybody 2 less minutes yesterday. I got some work to do on my side. I started at 8:02 yesterday. That's unacceptable. I can't do that. It's not the most piping hot coffee, but was brewed just a few minutes ago. It is cup number 2. Hope you guys are having a great morning. Thursday, November 7th. Really looking forward to today's show. There's some good topics today. A lot of good stuff to get into. If you can see all the topics here that I got it right for the first time on my right side as I'm looking at this screen. If you look at all the topics, Lakers obviously go 1-4 on the road trip. JJ Redick calls out the team. I thought that was an interesting strategy from JJ Redick, and I don't have any issue with it. I want to talk about Paul George being booed in LA. I think he doesn't really know why he was getting booed there. I'm going to go ahead and help him out of why that was the case. A little bit of Dodger stuff, but I do have a guest on at 8:30. I've been kind of really looking for getting the right guest to talk some USC football. And Ryan Abraham runs USCfootball.com. So you can't get anybody that's more educated on the team, educated on the Big Ten. So he's going to join. And then a couple of videos that I've been putting out the last couple of days. I thought there was some interesting comments that I do want to read. Some of the stuff was on the Lakers. Some of the stuff was yesterday on Juan Soto and how Dodger fans feel about that. I don't know if I should be surprised about this, but a lot of Dodger fans not crazy about this whole Juan Soto idea. By the way, I don't think it's going to happen. I do think he'll probably eventually stay out on the East Coast, but nonetheless, that will be part of the conversation as well. If you guys don't mind, I would greatly appreciate it. You know, I'm supposed to basically be doing this much more from what I've been told. Please subscribe to the channel. Please like the videos and help me build out this channel as next step is 26,000 subscribers, which we're very close to. But what I'd really like to do over the next couple of months or so is close in on 30,000 subscribers. The only way that I can do that is if I mention it to you guys, if I remind you guys, and it would mean the world if you guys can do it as we roll up our sleeves and work on this channel. All right, so let's get started here. Top of the morning. I know some people here right out the gate throwing out the good morning comments out there. Good morning to you as well. Happy Thursday, as somebody else is saying here. All right, this is a nice little one right here. Sleer, the best thing I got going in the mornings now. All right, it's an interesting one. Okay. However you want to phrase that one. Well, good morning to you either way as well, and I appreciate you hanging out. All right, let's get this thing going. I got a couple other people. Good morning. Um, just sipped a latte at Latte Larry's. Enjoy that coffee right there, that latte. Good morning to you as well. So good morning to everybody here. Good morning. We all sing Kumbaya together. I do want to get into Lakers basketball from yesterday. So that's how we're going to start the show. I got a couple clips here. You know, I want you guys to know something. There's two ways that I kind of have to put my hat on when I'm talking sports and what I'm doing, what I do day to day. I love what I do, and I love talking sports, obviously. But there's two ways that you go about it. Number one, you got the fandom side, which probably got you into the industry to begin with, and that definitely is me. Um, I've been watching Lakers basketball since I was a kid. That's really kind of how I got into all the other sports. Of course, all my allegiances are going to be in San Diego because I'm from San Diego. Lakers are the exception. Lakers are the exception to the rule for me. Grew up here in Southern California, but I was a Laker fan. I was a Magic fan, and I got hooked from a young age, and it still goes today. The other side of it is kind of just when you're covering a team, trying to cover them and be professional about it. Take your fandom, put your fandom to the side, and be really real about the team that you're covering. I don't have a problem doing that. Actually, that's one of my favorite things to do is criticize when a team deserves to be criticized and give praise when a team deserves to be praised. So yesterday, Lakers lost to the Memphis Grizzlies. Is the world going to end? It's not going to end. But they did lose to the Grizzlies. They went on their road trip Just a really, really, really disappointing road trip for the Lakers. They start the season out, as we all know, Lakers started out the season 3-0. Nice win against the Minnesota Timberwolves to start things off, followed up by a nice win against the who was second on that list? The Phoenix Suns, a really nice win at home. Then you follow that up with another win against the Sacramento Kings, and Laker fans are feeling good about themselves. I was at that game against Crypto. The vibe was great. Just a great start to the season, and 3-0, and everybody's feeling good about it. All right, then the road trip starts. You knew you were going to go out on 5 games on the road trip, and I had mentioned, if you guys remember this at all, before the road trip started, I talked about how you got to go, if you can go 3-2 on this road trip, that's a really good road trip. That means you're coming back to Los Angeles with a 6-2 record to start out the year. You can't really ask for anything more than that. And I started picking the teams that I felt like, okay, you got to get the Toronto game, you got to get the Detroit game. So now, of the other 3 teams that you were going to face that are postseason bound, are playoff worthy, however you want to call it, you got to get one of those 3 games against either Phoenix, Cleveland, or the Memphis Grizzlies. Lakers went 1-4 on that road trip. No other way to put it. Let's just simplify this here real quick. They went 1-4 on that road trip and didn't look good in the process. And now they're 4-4 overall. I want to play some clips because JJ Redick did his presser yesterday. And I thought what was most interesting to me is I don't know how much of it was about the X's and O's. Anthony Davis and Rui didn't play yesterday. I get that. So I want if people are going to make the excuse that AD and Rui didn't play, I completely understand that, 100%. But that's not what stood out to me yesterday. What stood out to me is some of the comments JJ Redick had after the game about his team. So let me play the first one here. I got a few that I want to play, 3 different clips here that I actually want to play in regards to that. So let's get started with that, and let's go from here. Give me 2 seconds here. Let's share the screen. Okay, let's go to the first one. Here is JJ Redick. All right, here is the first one, JJ Redick. Take a quick listen here as I hit play here. Here we go.
Only played 21 minutes tonight. What did you see there? Why did you make the decision in the second half to go away from him?
Again, just level of compete, attention to detail. Some of the things we I've talked with him about for a couple of weeks, and at times he's been really good with that stuff, and other times it's just reverting back to certain habits. But it wasn't like a punishment. It just felt like for us to have a chance to win this game, that was the route we wanted to take.
D'Lo only played 21 minutes tonight.
I'm going to pause it here for a second. Okay, so I want everyone to just quickly think here for a second of what JJ Redick just said. I'm going to play it again because I want to emphasize what he's saying here. There's another clip I got here that's not this one's specific to D'Angelo Russell, but there's another clip out here that's kind of calling out the entire team. He is playing D'Angelo Russell 21 minutes in a game that Anthony Davis is not playing in, and neither is Rui Hachimura. If there's ever a game that D'Angelo Russell is going to play 35, 38, 40 minutes, it's last night's game against the Memphis Grizzlies. Where the hell are the Lakers going to get their offense from? How are guys going to generate buckets for other people? Well, that's D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell can go off and get you 6 or 7 threes in a game. He's done that before. Of course he has. He can also go out there and dish out 8 to 10 dimes a game. D'Angelo Russell, that's part of his game. Listen again why D'Angelo Russell doesn't play more than 21 minutes last night.
What did you see there? Why did you make the decision in the second half to go away from him?
Again, just level of compete, attention to detail. Some of the things we I've talked with him about for a couple of weeks, and at times he's
attention to detail and level of competing. That's why you didn't play D'Angelo Russell more than 21 minutes? What are we in? Is this rec league ball? And I want to make sure who I'm calling out here when I'm saying this so people understand. Um, D'Angelo Russell, if all they're asking you for is your attention to detail and competing, and you can't give them that, okay, that's clearly a problem. All right, let me play another clip from yesterday's game. Again, I want to go the reason why I want to play some of this stuff for JJ Redick, and this is why it's my kind of, well, this is a problem for the Lakers. It has less to do with X's and O's. It has more to do with, are we already calling out players and questioning the effort of this team in the eighth game of the regular? Isn't that supposed to be just given that that's not a problem? Okay, here's another one that I want to have you guys take a quick listen to here. I hope this is the right one, because one of these is referencing LeBron. Let's see if this is the one. If not, I'll read you the quote of what he says. But take a quick listen here. Here's JJ Redick again.
JJ, you're talking a lot about two or three guys, getting them to put in the effort. You talked a lot about wanting to play hard and LeBron being the guy that played hard in tonight's game. How do you address that with the team? What's your philosophy for approaching that?
I just did.
All right, Redick walks out before the interview is done. And then this is the final one I want to play, where he's talking about LeBron. LeBron was 39 points last night, but he's basically talking about Bron and questioning where the hell is everybody else. Take a listen.
Yeah, I think LeBron was fantastic tonight. I mean, the biggest thing stood out. I mean, I had no idea he had 39 until I'm not looking at the box scores during the game, but you know, he played hard. You know, he's almost 40 years old. He played the hardest on our team. Says a lot about him.
I guess the natural follow-up to that is, I mean, what does that say about everyone else on a night like tonight when you guys were shorthanded? Were you satisfied with the effort that you got from everyone else?
None of us are.
How's Dalton?
All right, that's enough on that. We got the three clips that I wanted to play. Okay, so this is one of the things that I was saying. And the reason why I was saying you could kind of separate your fandom from being a professional and just covering the team. This morning is a unique morning for me because there's a lot of juice around the Lakers that might not seem like a lot of juice, but I watch the team and I listen to the post-game interviews, and I've covered the team now for a number of years, where I always look at it a little bit different. It's like, okay, is this just another regular loss, or is there something more to it? Guys, I got a quick reminder is not the way to put it. I guess a wake-up call. JJ Redick is not going anywhere for the Los Angeles Lakers. This guy's going to be the head coach, I think, for a little bit of time, because even if the Lakers have a bad season, it's not going to be JJ Redick's fault. You got to give this guy a real opportunity. I think there are people that think, hey, this guy's got a good mind for the game. And I think the Lakers, who have looked so bad over the years in recycling head coaches year after year, it's Luke Walton, it's Byron Scott, Luke Walton, Frank Vogel in the mix, Darvin Ham. I mean, go to JJ Redick. I don't know how many different coaches over the last few years. I think the Lakers are going to dig their feet in and say, we got our young coach. We're going to keep this guy for a while. We're going to try to improve the roster around him. The reason why I say that is because JJ Redick isn't going anywhere. Players will be shipped out way before JJ Redick goes anywhere. And whether that's a player that he called out yesterday when he calls out the team collectively of LeBron's 39, had 39 points. He's about to be 40 years old, and he's giving that much effort and the rest of the team isn't. I don't blame JJ Redick for calling out the team. I love that JJ Redick called out the team yesterday. I think they deserve it. I think there's a lot of players on this team right now that if you're watching them on the defensive side, Lakers gave up another 131 yesterday. And I don't want people to say, well, Anthony Davis wasn't there. Well, let me go back to some of the games where Anthony Davis was there, and you could see the amount of points that the Lakers are giving up either way. 127 against the Kings, 134 against the Cavs, 125 against the Raptors, 115 against the Pistons. That's all with Anthony Davis in the lineup. That's with one of the best two-way players in the league in the lineup. I love JJ Redick 8 games in, basically calling out his team. Yesterday, he had a quote. I stole it from Trevor Lane. Trevor Lane had put it out from Lakers Nation. And he had a quote basically saying something to the effect of, it'd be nice that one of our players takes a shot in 21 minutes of play. And he was talking about Gabe Vincent. He wasn't going at him, but I thought it was a little bit of a challenge of, Gabe, shoot the damn ball. We need you to shoot the ball. You can't be on this team and not be, be an ineffective player or not spending enough time on this team trying to take certain shots and everything else. But I know that this roster has some flaws, but if you have a roster that has flaws, and on top of those flaws, you got issues with effort, you got issues with your coach kind of calling out the team, that's not a good look. That's not a good sign. I don't have to sit here and tell anybody that, obviously for the Lakers, they got a long way to go. But the style of play that the Lakers are trying to play right now is, I don't think fits the team. Let me tell you guys what I mean. When the Lakers get healthy, and they'll eventually get healthy, they have no identity on the defensive side. That's a big time problem. If you're trying to think of the team yesterday, think of the last two teams that the Lakers have played. Actually, you could say the last three teams. What are the Grizzlies? They're young. They want to move the ball up and down. They want to run them. They want to sprint to a marathon. Think of the Detroit Pistons, the way they played the Lakers, up tempo, move the ball as fast as you can. Just get the Lakers tired, and by the time you get to the third quarter or so, you might have a double-digit lead, and then you could build off of that. Think of the way that they played the Raptors. Raptors in that second half, they were putting up God knows how many points in that second half. I can't remember off the top of my head. I know that yesterday the Grizzlies had 3 of the 4 quarters, they scored 35 points or more. The style that these teams are playing against the Lakers are up-tempo, let's get the Lakers tired, and that strategy is obviously working. But when you got your head coach early on in the season, 8 games in, basically saying is, yeah, we don't really have effort. There's no effort from these guys. There's not enough effort from these guys. And if there's a game that D'Angelo Russell is going to play 21 minutes in, if that's what's good, his stat line is going to be, it's going to be 21 minutes game. It cannot be the game that Anthony Davis is not playing and Rui Hachimura is not playing, because the amount that is going on the shoulders of D'Angelo Russell in a game like last night, it's everything. D'Lo's got to play 35, 37 minutes. He's got to end up contributing with 20, 22 points, 8, 9 assists. Like, that's the game for D'Lo to perform well in. And it wasn't just on D'Lo. I know I'm calling out D'Lo, but I'm calling out D'Lo more because JJ Redick decided that's not the guy that I'm going to play a ton of minutes. If you look at some of the other players for the Lakers, what Reeves play? He played 35 minutes, but he was 2 of 9 from 3. You can go down the list of other players that need to contribute. Really, the best player outside of LeBron yesterday was Cam Reddish. That was it. Cam Reddish was the best player for the Lakers yesterday, and primarily that was because he was getting opportunities, and those minutes that maybe Max Christie was getting or some of these other guys were getting taken away. So interesting post-game interview from JJ Redick. I'm gonna say it again. I don't have a problem with it. I have no issue with it. I think what JJ Redick did was the exact right thing to do. And I think if he needs to call out his players, then go ahead and do it. But JJ Redick, he's got nothing to worry about with job security. The guy is going to be, I think, is going to be a Lakers coach for a number of years. I mean, we'll see what happens. But if it's not this team and it's not this roster, they will change the team and the roster before they change out JJ Redick. I mean, at this stage, there's nothing left. You're going to go with LeBron for as long as he can go, but then there's going to be this kind of rebuild of whatever that team looks like. And certainly I thought last night was kind of fascinating to hear some of those interviews. All right, let me see some of your guys' comments here. Anthony, what's up, Slee? What's up, Anthony? What's up, brother? Thank you for being a part of the show. Let's see what else we got here. This team looks unathletic, no shooting, no size, and no depth. All right, let's keep going here. Time to move D'Lo to the 6th man on this team. That might be happening. I'm going to keep saying this, and somebody had suggested this on YouTube, and I clearly stole it from them. I think that is a very interesting idea that the Lakers might have to eventually really look into. All right, let's see what else we got here. You guys are getting ripped off. These players are playing for $100 million checks. Now they don't need to go ahead, waste your energy. The rich get rich. All right, a lot going on in that comment. A lot going on. I got somebody here, Slee. Don't worry. Don't worry. Bronny's going to save the situation. All right, let's keep going here. Got a lot of stuff going on here. All right, let's see what else we got here. I'm going to look at a couple of these others, and then I got a quick thought on one other thing I want to get into, Lakers portion of this, and then we'll keep this thing moving. All right, it says here, D'Lo really apologized on media day to Lakers Nation, only to come out with this sort of effort to start the season. Glad JJ called him out. Yeah, I you know what I think is going to be one of the strengths for JJ Redick. I don't think he has any issue doing it. I think JJ Redick is going to have no problem calling out these players, calling out certain guys. I feel like he's already kind of doing it. I feel like that's already kind of part of his strategy, to be honest with you. One more here, and then I want to get into how I think the Lakers' strategy of how they're playing these games. Lakers are going to have to change the style of how they play. If D'Lo isn't willing to embrace a six-man role, then it's time to move him. I would hate to see him go, but it's clear he and AR can share the court, or can't share the court, I think is what you're trying to say. I don't know. Something to keep in mind here. I have no idea what the value of D'Angelo Russell is going to be in the market to begin with. I have no idea. I genuinely have no idea. I know this. I know that the Lakers have definitely looked to shop and to trade D'Lo, and that's not the first time that we've heard that. He's on an expiring contract. But let me also emphasize this. This is not just on D'Lo. It's not like D'Lo's the one not performing and Rui's killing it, or D'Lo is not performing and Austin Reeves is flawless, or Gabe Vincent has been great, or Max Christie has stepped up to what he needs to be. That's not the case at all. So I think that's the one thing that I would emphasize in this entire conversation. D'Lo's not the only one, but D'Lo was the one specifically named yesterday and called out in that post-game show, which I thought was interesting. I mentioned this, and I'll mention it again, and I'll kind of give you a little bit more depth on it. Lakers need to change the style of how they play. I don't think the Lakers can be successful trying to jack up threes and trying to be a team that's trying to push the ball up the floor, run full court, and try to outscore a team. I don't think that's a good strategy. I really don't. I think the Lakers, they got to almost turn into – Lakers took 48 threes last night. That's insane to me that they would take 48 threes yesterday. And I know that's part of the NBA, but geez, and primarily that's because Anthony Davis is not there. But that's not the team that I want to see them be. I think if the Lakers are going to have success this year, they got to change the style of how they play. They don't want to move the ball. They don't want to push the ball up and down the floor. I wouldn't if I'm the Lakers, especially when Anthony Davis is there. I want to slow down the game. I want to get a lot of these fast teams and these young teams to have to play us on a half court where you could set up your defense, where in a half court, Anthony Davis and some of these other players can run a little bit more of a controlled offense. I don't think they're talented enough to play the style that they're playing. When Jared Vanderbilt comes back, when Christian Wood comes back, and now all of a sudden you got more size, you got more length, I think they got to play an uglier style of basketball. I think they got to muddy the water. The one thing that I don't see with this Lakers team, which I do think is an issue, everything is so easy for the other teams. They get in the paint. There is no one or two guys there to kind of send them a message, sit them on their ass and say, yeah, that's not the type of style that we play. You can't come into the paint. You can't live in the paint. I think that's the only style that I could see from this Lakers team. They got to get a little dirtier. They got to get a little uglier. They got to play a little bit more of an old school style of basketball if they're going to compete in today's NBA. That's my opinion. I just don't think they have the talent to try to play the style that they're playing and try to jack up as many threes as they are. I mean, who on this team can you look at and rely on as a real three-point shooter? Even Dalton Knecht, who's only 8 games into his career, got a chance to start last night. It's not like all of a sudden Dalton Knecht is this. He's going to need time. The guy's going to need time. I just, from a stylistic perspective, I think the Lakers, once they get healthy and they get their guys back, I think they're going to have to change the style of how they play. If you're trying to play pretty basketball, I think they're going to keep losing. I think they're going to have to change what that team and what the mold and kind of what that foundation is for this team. That's my kind of my initial thoughts and my initial opinion on what I've seen so far. But they They started out the season. They started out the season 3-0. They're now 4-4. And they'll get a little lucky because Philly won't have he won't have Embiid tomorrow. They got another game coming up on Sunday. I may go to that one. I'm not 100% sure yet, against Toronto. So they'll get a chance to play the Raptors. So we'll see what that looks like. Listen, they'll have opportunities to kind of get back on track here, but stylistically, not crazy about it. And your head coach calling you out, not crazy about it as well. Let me get another quick clip in here. Lakers obviously playing Ja Morant yesterday, playing the Memphis Grizzlies. Listen to Ja Morant postgame, what he had to say about playing the Lakers.
I don't like them. They knocked me out of the playoffs. And then last year, we had a game and they came in here and popped it on our home floor when I was in street clubs. So I wasn't the night. I don't like them.
That's Ja Morant right there. I don't mind that. I like that, actually. I saw that. I didn't listen to his post-game interview, but I saw in the morning, I saw it was on ESPN. I'm like, all right, what do you have to say? He's like, yeah, I don't like them. Yeah, I don't like the Lakers. Memphis, I think a lot of people were curious about Memphis, how they're going to be this year. You guys remember the year Lakers got to the Western Conference Finals. They had to go through Memphis. They were number 2 seed, but they had a lot of injuries. Ja Morant had to leave the game early yesterday. I think he left in the third quarter, but it didn't matter. I mean, they even without Ja Morant, they were having no problems with the Lakers. But I sit back and I'm watching the game last night. Even though Anthony Davis wasn't there, even though Rui wasn't there, don't forget Desmond Bane, who's a baller, and Marcus Smart, who's a really, really good role player as well. Both of those guys weren't playing for the Grizzlies as well. But I like that clip from Ja Morant. Some people like to sugarcoat things. Some people like to say have the political answer. Ja Morant's like, yeah, I just don't like the Lakers. I just don't like them. He didn't look that good yesterday. I gotta be honest. The first time I've watched Ja Morant this year since he's been back, and sloppy. Throws a lot of turnovers, complaining to the refs a lot. He'll get back in the full season mode, and once he gets some more help and he gets some of his other guys back. But a lot of young players. What's been frustrating watching the Lakers a little bit these last couple of games? There's so many good young players in the NBA that are. Detroit's got some nice young players. Toronto's got some nice young players. Memphis got some nice young players. I'm jealous of seeing these young players contribute in the NBA, and the Lakers just, that's not the case. I mean, I could use Max Christie as a great example. Here's a guy that we've been hyping up, thinking this guy's going to be good. He's going to be this. He's going to be that. Has not happened so far. Definitely hasn't happened. Okay, just a quick reminder here. Ryan Abraham, who covers USC for USCfootball.com, is going to come on in about 5 minutes. So I'm going to switch gears and talk USC football in about 5 minutes. But I'm going to stay on the NBA here for a quick second and go from there. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see this, but Paul George returned back to LA yesterday. He's playing obviously at the Intuit Dome, and he's getting a chance to play the Clippers for the first time. And I guess he was getting booed during the game. That maybe he got some cheers. They played a tribute video for him before the game started, and then he started getting booed. And I'm going to read a quote here. And I actually think, listen, I don't have an issue with Paul George. I don't. I think my favorite version of Paul George was when he was in Indiana, just a real superstar in Indiana. They built a tough team that was going toe-to-toe with the Heatles at the time. It was Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and it was Chris Bosh. Remember, they took him to Game 7, and Paul George had some highlights in Indiana. The guy was the absolute man. But it's funny listening to some of his quotes yesterday, and I think there's a part of Paul George that just doesn't fully understand. I think he's missing a piece here, but he gets booed yesterday, and this was his quote. He said, "It is stupid. I mean, I was a free agent. You know what I mean? It wasn't something I demanded a trade or went against the team here. I was a free agent. The team presented something that was team friendly, and I did what was best for me in that situation. So there were the cheers. I appreciate them. There were the ones that I played hard for. The boos, I didn't get it. I still don't get it when I go back to Indy, but it is what it is. It's sports. I look forward to the next year being back here and getting more boos." I'm not going to talk about his experience with Indiana because I don't know it, but I thought Here's what I think Paul George doesn't understand. And obviously from if there's a Clipper fan on here, a Clipper perspective, they can feel free to chime in as well. Here's what I think Paul George doesn't understand, and here's what I don't think he sees when it comes to this conversation. Here's why they're booing you. They're booing you is because the Los Angeles Clippers thought when you became a Los Angeles Clipper and Kawhi Leonard became a Los Angeles Clipper that they were going to have this 5-year run where they had a legitimate chance to win an NBA championship. And the roster was good enough that they thought they were going to get their first ring or they were going to get to their first finals, something along those lines. And the bottom line is it never happened. So when I think of Paul George and his time with the Los Angeles Clippers, I don't think I'm going to think of this, oh, man, they had great years there with Paul George. No, I think they're going to say those were disappointing years. I think a lot of people are going to sit back and say, they didn't make it happen. The expectations that was on that team. You guys remember the first year. This was in the bubble. Remember they went up 3-1 to the Denver Nuggets and they had a chance. They're one game away of facing the Lakers in the NBA playoffs, something that both franchises have never crossed paths on. They choked. They choked away that 3-1 lead. And that's with Kawhi Leonard. He was there, and it was Lou Williams and go down the list of Patrick Beverley, all the other players that were a part of that team. The Clippers never met the expectations. That's why they're booing you. And you don't have to take it personal. You did leave the franchise, and I don't blame him for leaving. He went and got paid he signed a max deal with the Philadelphia 76ers. But I think instead of saying it is stupid, I think he should say, listen, I get it. That's what happens when you leave a team. Is it always fair on the players? No, of course it's not. Is this the way sports should be? Of course not. Are fans unreasonable? Of course they are. But I get it. I understand it. That comes with the territory. That's really all he had to say. I don't know why. Again, it's not like Kawhi Leonard, who left the Toronto Raptors. He'll always get a standing O. He'll always get love because he delivered them a ring. Paul George didn't do that with the Clippers. It's a different type of relationship. And I don't know if Paul George understands that. I mean, I think there's certain things that he wants and that he hopes for. But at the end of the day, I 100% see where the fans are coming from. There were a lot of Clipper fans that thought out there that that they were going to win their first championship or get to their first NBA Finals. It never happened. So they don't have to have this loyalty towards you. They just don't. That's just kind of the way sports works. But obviously, Paul George saw it a different way. Okay, time to switch gears here, guys. And I appreciate everybody hanging out. As promised, as I mentioned, I would like to welcome in Ryan Abraham, who runs USCfootball.com. Ryan, what's going on, brother? Thank you for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me. Yeah, bye week, get a little break, but it's
been
a crazy season. It's been up and down all over the place.
Well, listen, I really appreciate, I mentioned this to you. I'd sent you an email and you were nice enough to come join the show. I think USC football right now is a fascinating storyline, not for all the positive reasons, but I think they're a fascinating storyline. And I think there's a lot of people on here that would love a perspective of somebody that covers a team. So thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Great to I've listened to you a bunch over the years, so it's great to be on with you. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. So let's start off with this. And for those who are hanging out, again, Ryan Abraham, USCfootball.com, taking some time to join the show. I see a lot of the comments on here, too, that are NBA related. I'll get back to those around 8:45 or so. Ryan, let's start off with this. And maybe I'm coming off the top rope on this one, but that's okay. That's all right on this one. Right. Lincoln Riley, the USC Trojans are 4-5 on the season. They are, at least so far, really, really struggling this year. Is Lincoln Riley, just your opinion on this, is he the head coach of the University of Southern California a year from now?
Yeah, I think he will be. I mean, losing 4 of your last 5 isn't good enough. I mean, you're one of the highest paid, top 5 highest paid coaches in the country. They went 7-5 in the regular season last year. You start off beating LSU, and there's a lot of expectation of, wow, this team could make the playoff. And then to lose, they're 4-5. They had a lead in every fourth quarter.
Wow.
It's hard to have a lead in every fourth quarter and lose 5 of those games. So it's not good enough. It's something around the standard. But Pete Daniel reported, and we had heard this, his buyout is $90 million. So if you want to try to get out of this contract, if the athletic department wants to make a change, it's just not really possible at this point. We saw Jimbo Fisher get bought out for $76 million, and that was like double the biggest buyout we've ever seen. I think in this new age where now the athletic department has to share revenue with players coming up next season, I just don't think it's possible. And you've already asked boosters to provide this NIL money year after year and trying to build your roster, to go to them and say, hey, we need $90 million to get rid of the coach. So even if they want, I'm not saying they want to, but even if they did, I just don't think it's possible because of that buyout.
It's basically, I guess the question is, if it wasn't such a financial burden, like the reasons why you're explaining it, it's more from a business sense. No, they got to kind of let this play out more. I was saying this a couple weeks ago, and I don't think my opinion has changed. I don't think they should fire him, and I think they should give him all of next year as well, and just kind of see how the dust settles. Do you have faith that he can turn the program around? Give me some reasons, if there's an SC fan listening, why you feel like that the worst is right now, but it's going to get better.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of fans are upset with him, but if you look at his track record, and just even when USC hired him, they'd never hired anybody with that kind of resume. Now, he was 55-10 at Oklahoma, conference championships, college playoff appearances, Heisman trophies. The last time USC hired like a proven college head coach was 100 years ago with Howard Jones. Like literally, that's how long it was. Wow. Everyone else was like, Pete Carroll was like a failed NFL. No, they've had some great coaches, John McKay, but none of them were like proven college head coaches like Lincoln Riley was. And he's lost 10 games in his last 16. So as many games as he had as Oklahoma. So certainly that's not good enough. I think there was positive signs last year. Probably took too long to make a shift on the defensive side, but in the offseason made a lot of great defensive hires. I think that defensive staff is really good. The bodies aren't quite there and they've had some injuries, and it's just not helping them there. The concerning part is he's been an offensive guru, and this year the offense has taken a pretty big step back. We thought maybe taking a little, but then now they're changing quarterbacks and all that. So I think he's mostly been really good at coaching offense. This year hasn't been the case. If the defense is fixed and he can get the offense going again, then I think that gives you some hope that, hey, they can turn this thing around. The schedule wasn't that bad this year. They were set up to, like I said, they were winning in every fourth quarter. They could have won all those games, obviously. You could have made a run at the playoff this year. I think it's just concerning that they didn't. So if he got the defense right, I think this year helped it a lot. I think he's been shown he can do stuff on the offensive side. So I think that's where you would get hope that he can get that going, get his right quarterback, whatever he needs. They can have a really good team next year.
USC is 2-5 in the Big Ten. Their first year in the Big Ten. I was joking around about this earlier in the week that UCLA's 2-4, and they got their chest out like, look at us in front of USC. I think this is a question I would have as far as the Big Ten goes. To have the season that they're having, to have the question marks about Lincoln Riley, how much can that affect just your recruiting, and how much can that a window where you're struggling like they are right now in the short term, knowing that Indiana's undefeated, Oregon's the number one team in the country, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan will eventually turn around. There's a lot of good teams in the Big Ten. Do you worry that is this kind of the world in college football that we're in right now? If you have just one bad year or a year and a half, it could really affect what the next year or two looks like?
I mean, it potentially could, I think, but you would also see a team like Indiana, who was 3-9 last year, and now they're 9-0, which is crazy.
Wow.
You can turn things around quickly with the transfer portal, and we saw Lincoln Riley do that himself, 4-8 to 11 wins. But it is concerning. I think when you go into this new conference, you would love to make a big splash, and they had the biggest win the conference had, week one, beating LSU. It was sort of like the Big Ten were like, hey, we got to win over an SEC program, even though Michigan got trucked and Wisconsin eventually got crushed by SEC teams. USC got that win, but since then they haven't been able to win on the road. They keep blowing games. You want to make a splash like Oregon did, and they came in and they're just like gangbusters. And USC had that potential. I don't think they were they wasn't a national championship type of roster, but it was good enough that they could have actually got into the playoff. And USC's never made the playoffs, so it would have been a big deal in year one to maybe beat Michigan and Penn State and things like that and say, hey, we're here to play. Now you're kind of an afterthought. So I don't think it helps, certainly. And it's not good for the team morale. It's not good for fan interaction. If you were upset that you were going to join the Big Ten, you're not really happy about it now either. But there was a real opportunity for USC to kind of make not a splash like Oregon, but a pretty good statement, and it just kind of fell flat.
I listen, I don't think I know why it was done, but do you think there's any regret at all that SC I made this case a couple weeks ago, and maybe I'm just was a big fan of the Pac-12, and I loved watching Pac-12, whether it was football, basketball, whatever the case is. Do you think there's any regret at all that, hey, if we could go back and do it all over again, why SC, who was clearly the leader of that conference, maybe it should have been SC that was not just SC, the Pac-12 saying, let us recruit a couple of these football teams. Let us get a couple more solid programs in here, and let us always kind of have our chest out as this is we run this conference with the others, but SC clearly, I think, was the head of the snake. I know they would never admit it, but do you think anybody, if you could go back, that there's some people that are looking back and saying maybe this wasn't the best long-term move?
Yeah, I think on the field, you would certainly say that. I don't know if the athletic directors and coaches and things would, but if you're talking about, hey, if you had Oregon in your conference and USC was good or whatever it was, I think, and the Pac-12 had their best year last year.
I know.
A lot of those teams have taken a step back, but like Arizona State's looking good. Like Utah's fallen off. Arizona, we thought was going to be falling off, but maybe that doesn't happen if the Pac-12 doesn't break up. We'll see. But I think financially, just the way everything is going, knowing that this House settlement is going to take shape on July 1st, I believe, where athletic department's got to pay like $22 million to players, like right out of their budget. They didn't add any revenue. So the way to add revenue is like joining a bigger conference. And I think if the Pac-12 could have got a good TV deal, then I think it would have made more sense. But the way things shaked out, like if you're going to get like $70 million from a TV deal in the Big Ten and 30 or something from the Pac-12, it just seems like, you would like, on the field to be in the Pac-12, but just financially to survive, it seemed like, hey, you got to go and try to get that big paycheck. It might not work out, but I mean that's what I think they were going after.
I always wondered. I was kind of thought to myself, I'm like, all right, well, clearly they didn't have the right leader as far as the commissioner of the Pac-12, was not able to strike a deal that was beneficial to the Pac-12. I always thought, I'm like, listen, if they had a better leader, and then you can say, okay, can we go recruit can we go get a good school, a solid school out of the state of Texas, a solid school out of Florida? Can they piece together the Pac-12 becomes the Pac-16, something along those lines? Maybe you don't get the $70 million that you're getting in the Big Ten, but are you getting around 50? Can you, was there a way to make it survive? But I think that's a question that we'll always ask, but not really have an answer for.
Yeah, Larry Scott had a chance when they were going to bring in like Texas and Oklahoma, and then that fell through and it became Utah and Colorado, which didn't necessarily move the needle there. But yeah, and I think the presidents just enabled Larry Scott for way too long and just let him do whatever he wanted. He wasn't really close with the athletic directors. The presidents were just like, oh yeah, we're fine. And he was the most, he was the highest paid commissioner of the conference. They had the most expensive office, all that stuff, like everything that was wrong. He, was at the root of it. I thought George Kliavkoff could come in and do a pretty good job, but it was a big mess to clean up. And then he made a lot of mistakes too. So it's just bad leadership, I think, to me, is what torpedoed the Pac-12.
Ryan, why the quarterback changed now? What's were you surprised that they were making the call here, or obviously they're benching quarterback Miller Moss? Jaden Mayava is getting an opportunity to start in the next game for USC. Were you surprised at the change?
Not super surprised, but I thought it would come a little bit earlier. I think a lot of the fans had turned on Miller Moss, and his first two starts were against ranked teams, Louisville and LSU, and he got wins in both of them. He hasn't been perfect. He's not as mobile as a Caleb Williams, but I felt like the fans really got on him. And the Washington defense was the #1 pass defense in the country You didn't need to throw it 50 times in that game. Like to me, a lot of it was, are you helping him out? And they put him in a lot of bad situations. Now he's thrown some bad picks and there have been some mistakes, but I don't think he was getting the kind of help. I think at this point, you need to find some sort of hope. You need a spark. Lincoln Riley was asked about it every week. We would be like, hey, are you going to play Jade Mayava? And he's like, no, no, no. And then even after the Washington game, he said no. But then we had heard out, we actually broke the story that, Mayava was going to start. And then he addressed it this week and said it was, the best thing for the team. And it wasn't, an indication of what's going to be in the future. And who knows what's going to happen in the future. But we know going into the Nebraska game, they're going to give Mayava a chance. He's big and strong and he can run. And the fans have been clamoring for him. So if he does well, they'll all be saying, see, I told you. But if he doesn't do well and they lose to a struggling Nebraska team, then I don't know what they're going to say. But it's an interesting timing for sure. But I think you had to do something because just there wasn't much hope left with the team being 4-5.
Final one for you, Ryan. I appreciate you hanging out here and joining the pod. I look at it's funny because college football, it's not my top sport. I'm a huge NBA fan, watch a lot of the NFL games, Major League Baseball. But when college football has matchups, it's impossible for me not to watch Ohio State and Penn State. It's impossible for me not to watch some of these big games. The college football playoff, first year. This will be the first year that they have it. What are your expectations? How do you think it's changed the regular season? Just your thoughts on the new format and what should we be expecting in the first playoff?
I'm a big fan so far. It's a really interesting. I'm not a big fan of the shows when they do all the reveals and everything, but just to see there's 12 teams and getting a bye and the 5 seed actually maybe even better than like some of the other seeds because you get to play the worst team from a group of 5 and then the worst conference champion. Like there's a lot of little interesting aspects, but the fact that we got Ohio State and Oregon as a game and we got to see Oregon in Michigan and Texas and Georgia, like that's all cool. And those all matter. And some people said, well, you expand the playoffs, the regular season doesn't matter, but man, it's showing like it's mattering. LSU and Alabama play this weekend, which could be an elimination game for the playoffs. So to me, it's added intrigue to the regular season. And then figuring out what's going to happen in these playoffs, home playoff games, like there could be a playoff game, in Tuscaloosa or something like, wow, like that's going to be pretty cool to see things like that. And so the way it's a weird format. It's not, something, it's not like the NFL, but it's making things fun. I think you want some of these storylines and make it intriguing. And to me, it hasn't lost any. I'm covering USC; they're out of it, but there's still so much interest and intrigue. You can see even USC fans are like trying to follow along. Who's going to make what? Where's Indiana going to end up? And things like that. So to me, it's been fun, and we'll see how the playoff plays out. But so far, I think it's a good move.
Yeah, I love it, man. I think it's I'm so excited about it. And I think what you just said, a few times I came on and I'm like, wait a minute, just so I understand this. In September, we're getting these matchups. I'm like, this is a Final Four matchup. In October, I get to watch this, and then I get to watch it again down the road. I love it. I think it's impossible not to get excited about it. Ryan, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. I hope as we get a little bit further, maybe a little bit closer to some of these college football games, we'd love to have you back on.
That'd be great. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Thank you, man. All right. Ryan Abraham right there. Very, very nice of him to join the show. It's funny. I'm in kind of a little bit of a new world. Part of the new world that I'm in is kind of reaching out to some people that I've never met before. Obviously, some people that I do know. And, you find out a little bit about, I think it's kind of cool to find out a little bit about people that you feel like, all right, hey, this guy is, he's down to join the podcast, or as he mentioned in the beginning, hey, I listen to you all the time in LA or whatever the case is. So cool to get to know some of these people that I don't know, I don't have a relationship with, but I want their insight on the show. I'm not going to talk SC 3 times a week, but I will talk about SC, when I get the opportunity and if it makes sense. So something to keep in mind from that perspective. Okay. Let's keep things moving here. By the way, how interesting is that? And you don't have to be a huge SC fan to I don't care whether SC wins or not. I genuinely don't. I have no dog in the fight. But I find USC interesting, their storyline, the fact that Lincoln Riley is struggling. There's a lot of things that are intriguing to me about USC. And how about him basically saying, no, they're going to keep Lincoln Riley because it's too much money to get rid of him. well, maybe you shouldn't commit 10 years to a head coach. And now I know they thought that's probably the only way that they were going to get him. They thought it was going to be a home run. Of course, Lincoln Riley is going to work here. But what Ryan Abraham did not say, at no point did he say, well, they're keeping Lincoln Riley because they feel like he's going to turn it around. They're keeping Lincoln Riley because they know he's the right coach for USC. No, they're keeping Lincoln Riley because they bought that house at the height of the market and they can't sell it now because they're going to be at such a negative. That's basically why they're keeping Lincoln Riley. All right, good stuff right there from Ryan Abraham. And again, I appreciate him coming on. All right, let's look at some of your guys' comments here. And then I want to, there's one thing I want to do on Juan Soto and Dodger fans' reaction to Juan Soto. So I'm going to get into that in just a second here, and we'll go from there. All right, let me see some of these comments here. USC Northwestern, same thing. USC would be in the playoff if they stayed in the Pac-12, but got to get that Big Ten money and settle for last place. Yeah, I think this is what I come back to. And listen, it is what it is. Maybe one day there will be another version of the Pac-12. Maybe one day there's going to be more West Coast schools that decide, and good schools. I'm talking about the Cals and the Stanfords and the Arizonas and Arizona States and Utah. When I say good, I'm saying schools that were actually in the Pac-12 before. Maybe there will be some kind of realignment again. But nonetheless, I just always felt like if they were more aggressive and played offense to go get other schools, the Pac-12 was an attractive place as well. They just couldn't get a TV deal. Okay, go get a new commissioner. Go get somebody else that can go lead the Pac-12. I mean, that means if your commissioner is the CEO of your company, you need a new CEO. That Pac-12 just didn't have the right people there. How are you not able to go get a good TV deal? The Big 12 did it. And the Big 12, I'd make a case, did not have the football programs that you had, and the Big 12 was able to go get deals done. And the Pac-12 just kind of sat there and sat around. We're going to get it done. We're going to get it done. The next thing you know, the Pac-12 is no more. All right, let me see a couple more here on USC, and then I want to jump into that. I do want to jump into that Dodgers thing I was talking about with Juan Soto. Networking Slee making mad connections. Not yet, man. I haven't even freaking scratched the surface. I will tell you this, real quick on the show, real quick in the channel. I know there's a lot of people on here. If you're tuning into me every morning from 8 to 9 a.m., man, I can't thank you guys enough. I appreciate it. I know the numbers will eventually grow to where I want them to go. I know the channel and the production and all that stuff will eventually get to where I need it to get to. But, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just slap base hits for now, take my chances, know that it's not going to happen overnight. But if you are hanging out the way you are, at this stage of the show, man, that means a lot to me. That means you guys really, really kind of rock with me and are open to hanging out with me and giving my channel a chance to deliver for you guys. So I hope that you guys continue to give it time and trust me. Over time, I will deliver. All right. Let's see a couple more here. Keeping Lincoln because they spent the money like drunken sailors. It is kind of funny. It is kind of funny to see that their reasoning for keeping Lincoln Riley is, guys, we already spent our money. I don't care what the car payment is. I don't care how bad the car is. I got this lease for 3 years, so I got to keep it. That's the reasoning of why they're doing it for now. Listen, maybe he's able to turn it around, and I still think you give him all of next year before you make a decision. But the reason of why they're keeping him is because of financial reasons, not necessarily because it feels like they can make it happen. Okay, let's talk Juan Soto here for a quick second. So yesterday I had John Quintera on, as you guys remember. John came on. Man, that guy is, and I genuinely mean this when I say it. You want somebody that knows freaking baseball? That dude knows baseball. He knows baseball in and out, or inside and out. He's what he does. And anyways, that guy knows baseball. So I took a clip yesterday when I finished the show yesterday, somebody that I have that helps me out cut up the clip of just Juan Soto and should the Dodgers make a run at Juan Soto. And I'm telling you, what I just kind of naturally thought Dodger fans are going to say, for the most part, I just thought Dodger fans were going to say, well, of course you go make a run at Juan Soto. What the hell are you talking about? Have you seen Juan Soto? Have you seen that dude's numbers? Have you seen the way that guy can mash 40 home runs a year and his batting average and everything else? And I'll be the first one to tell you guys, when Juan Soto got traded to the San Diego Padres, come on, that was, as big as it gets. It's like, what are you talking about? The Padres just got Juan Soto. I was a huge, huge fan of his game, but I also knew that it was going to be short-lived. I knew that Juan Soto, at the most you were going to get out of Juan Soto was 3 postseason runs. Instead, you got 1 postseason run. The next year they don't make the playoffs. The next year they trade him and they go, grab as many pieces as they can. And then who would have thought? Then they make the playoffs again. I thought it was just going to be this, no question about it. A lot of Dodger fans were going to say, go get Juan Soto. I'm going to read you guys some of my comments here because I just think it's fascinating, and I'm sharing my YouTube page. Let's see if I could do this here. I'm going to share my YouTube page from yesterday with Coach so you guys can see some of these comments here. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating here. I don't know if one person said, keep Soto. Here's one right here. He's not worth nowhere near what they're projecting. The team that pays him will regret it for the next decade. Here's another one. Dodgers need a shortstop and starting pitching, so Soto is luxury, not a necessity, which is why I like the idea of putting Betts at second base. We saw that Betts is going to probably go back into the infield. No on Soto. Spend the money on others. And Teoscar's personality has been great for the locker room. Soto is no Johnny Hustle. Every one of the Dodgers outfielders are better than Soto. Not worth the drama he brings to the clubhouse. He didn't hustle in a couple of pop flies. He's not worth 500, maybe might be $600 million. Addition by subtraction is really saying something on a roster with divas, throws Machado and Profar out there. These people, everybody loves to go after Machado. Mookie's going to play second, so I think they need a center fielder. Soto isn't that guy. Guys, I'm not kidding when I say this. Dodgers need Tanner Scott. Soto will be in New York, whether it's with the Yankees or the Mets. He never wanted to be with the Padres. No on Soto. There was not one message on here of any Dodger fan that said, yes, if you can go get Juan Soto, go get him. Should I be surprised by that? Should I be surprised by that? Or should I not be? I thought one of the points that I thought was interesting from John Quintero yesterday is when Coach went into he talked a little bit about how there were times that when Soto was with the Padres, he wouldn't even AJ Preller, who's the GM of the Padres, couldn't have a one-on-one conversation with him. Scott Boras would be in the room. That there were games that he would just go into the clubhouse, he'd grab his phone and then kind of wait for when it was time to go back out into the field. Now, I don't think he was the same player with the Yankees. By the way, he delivered for the Padres, so it's not that he didn't deliver. He did. The guy was that good. But I noticed from Juan Soto, when he was a San Diego Padre to when he got traded to the Yankees and opening day came, I'm like, this dude's body looks a lot different. This guy looks like a player right now that is – he looks like he's more in shape. I think he took last year more serious than he took when he was with the San Diego Padres. I think he knows it was a contract year for him. I think he knows that if he's going to go make $600 million, he was going to have a good year in New York, and he's probably going to go get paid. But I just think at the end of the day, I was a little bit surprised that most Dodger fans were saying thank you, but no thank you. So I thought that was interesting. See, I get the feeling you really don't Soto because it affects the Padres more than it affects the Dodgers. You really don't Soto. I don't know what that means. If I could be honest with you, if the Dodgers signed him tomorrow for $600 million for 13 years, he's a complete baller, but I don't know if that's the right move for the Dodgers. So it has nothing to do with my Padre fandom. I'm a San Diego Padre fan. The Dodgers are going to be loaded with or without Juan Soto. The question for me is, does he fit the vibe of that Dodgers team, number one? And number two, is that where you want to put your resources, or do you want to put your resources somewhere else? And I'm getting the feeling that a lot of Dodger fans think that those resources should go somewhere else. No Juan Soto, use that money on Teo, Trinan, starting pitching, and another bullpen arm. So, yeah, that's crazy to kind of see that vibe. Soto showed zero offensive hustle and right. He's just not a good right fielder, period. I don't even know if it's hustle. I think that guy has a tough time tracking balls. I think that guy has that's not what his strength is. His strength is, and he's going to eventually be a DH, and he'll be a DH in 3 to 4 years. And when he becomes a DH, you know, you obviously have Ohtani in this on this lineup as well. So that's going to look a certain way. Tomorrow, I was going to have him on yesterday, but we had to move it. Tomorrow, Doug McCain from Dodger Nation, DMAC, is going to join the show. So keep that one in mind. So we'll talk a lot more about the Dodgers, and we'll get more into that stuff as well. So keep that in mind for tomorrow. He'll be my guest for tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to get his opinion on obviously everything in regards to that. Okay, solid show today. Look at us. We are freaking moving. I had a lot to get into. You know, I started off the show. Obviously, if you're tuning in right now, a lot of this JJ Redick stuff post game. The list, I had 3 different clips that I was playing of JJ Redick where he's basically calling out the team. Kind of a very, very interesting post-game conference or post-game presser for JJ Redick. So I thought that was interesting. But at the end of the day, Lakers got some work to do. They certainly do. But solid topics today. Slee, why mess with the team chemistry? Also use that money to re-sign the core guys. One guy that's not a two-way player, so-so defense, not marketable. It's not worth 600 plus. That seems to be the theme from Dodger fans. And by the way, did I think he was going to come to the Dodgers anyways? I didn't. I think we all kind of always felt that he'll probably end up with the Yankees or the Mets, one of the 2 teams on the East Coast. And I think part of the reason why he didn't want to sign the Padres didn't think he was going to sign with a long-term deal in San Diego because I think they thought he wanted to be out on the East Coast. So that's probably exactly where he's going to end up. All right, let me see if I can squeeze in 1 or 2 more comments, and then we're going to get the hell out of here. I got a busy day today. I got a conference call at 9:30. I got a meeting at 10:30. I got a meeting at noon. And then I'm going to hop on the Amtrak, take the train, shoot it back up to L.A., and get down to Pasadena for a couple of days. I'll do the show tomorrow, but I'll be doing it from Pasadena. Not 100% sure what I'm going to do this weekend. Lakers got a game Friday and Sunday. Still got to figure out my schedule. I got to get to one of those 2 games. I'm leaning towards going to the Sunday game, so I'm leaning towards doing that. Let's see what we got here. Can I get one more good one? Cohen has the most money. Bomber makes Cohen look like he's got no cash at all. I don't compare if Bomber and Cohen walk into a bank. I don't think Cohen can get a loan. All right, find one more here, and then we're going to call it a day. Jalen really wants to know where Rookie is. Rookie is in Pasadena, California, so he's not here. Yeah, Jalen lost it here for a second because I know he threw that up a couple times. My fault I didn't get to it, Jalen. And then Jalen just hallucinated. He lost it. I mean, look at Jalen, how quick this changed. Where's Rookie to hallucinating? Jalen lost it. He wants to know where the hell Rookie is. He's in Pasadena. All right? He's in Pasadena right now. All right, y'all. Thank you very much for the show. I appreciate it. Solid show today. Thank you for being a part of it. Please subscribe to the channel. Closing in on 26,000 subscribers. Let's get to 26,000 subscribers, and then I got to start setting a bar for about 30,000. But please subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you don't mind as well. I'm supposed to be basically promoting this stuff more because I don't do enough of it, so I'm doing it here. If you can do that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll be back tomorrow. Doug McCain on tomorrow to talk some Dodgers baseball, some free agency, and you guys know I got a lot of Lakers stuff coming as well. Thank you for being a part of the show. Have a great rest.